Hello, welcome back to Lil's Vintage World. Welcome to the first video in 2020. I hope you had a very Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays. If you don't celebrate Christmas or just had a nice couple of weeks, if you don't celebrate anything. We celebrated the New Year asleep. We brought the New Year in 2020 in by being asleep. It was absolutely lovely. Puppy woke us up when he got a little bit scared by the fireworks, but other than that, it was very good and we just slept through. It was wonderful. The joy of being, past the age of 21 when you can stay at partying, and we just had a nice sleep. It was lovely. So today I've got my November and December wrap up. A lot of the books that I read in November and December feature in other videos, so either standalone book reviews or they feature in book reviews like classic crime book reviews or my history book reviews, Persephone book reviews. You get the idea. So these are the books that are left. I will leave links for them in the description bar below as long as I can get my hands on all of them. Let's get straight into it. So the first one that I have to share with you, I read back in November, and this is Giant Days by Non Pratt. So this is the Giant Days, the comic book series that I love, we have our three main characters, Daisy, Esther and Susan, and it's their time at university. But this is a fictionalised version. This is like what I guess you describe as YA. I'm not a YA reader normally, but I picked this up because, of course, it's Giant Days. So we're right back at the beginning, we're right back at first year, we're back in halls again. And do you know what? I started this book going in open-minded, think, oh, we'll give it a go. It's YA, it's not my thing, but I'll give it a try because it's Giant Days. And to start with, I actually quite liked this book. I thought, oh, it's quite addictive. The writing style, was it for me? Not really, but it was still very addictive. I was whizzing through it, all was fine. And then it just kind of got towards the end and it just kind of felt a bit like it missed the mark. It felt a bit unrealistic and not my Giant Days that I have in my comic book. So in the end I gave this 2 stars. I thought it was okay. I wouldn't really recommend this, to be honest. I would recommend it if you're like me and you're an absolute die-hard fan of Giant Days and you just want to read it to say that you've read it, then yes, go ahead and read this. But for me, no, I wouldn't really recommend this. It's just, it's just not Giant Days. And yeah, do you know what? I'm just going to stick to rereading the series because that was wonderful. The series is always just going to be my number one forever and ever. The next book that I read was also in November, and that was Sophie Kinsella, I Owe You One, which is one of her newest releases. Now, me and Sophie Kinsella, get your words out there, go back quite a long way. So when I was a child, well, 13, teenager, and I kind of outgrew children's books, I tried YA, but we didn't call it YA, we called it teen fiction. I tried teen fiction, wasn't for me. Even back then it wasn't for me. And so I went to reading. I was reading my non-fiction history books, so like my David Starkey and things. I went to fictional history, so things like Philippa Gregory. I went to those books, and I went to women's fiction. And the first place in women's fiction I went to was Sophie Kinsella, the Shopaholic series. So I've read Sophie Kinsella for a very, very long time, and I have to say, this is the worst book of hers that I've ever read. So this is about a young 27-year-old woman called Fixie, that's her nickname, and she is good at fixing things, genius, and she ends up saving this man's laptop from a ceiling falling down in a cafe, and he's like, oh, thank you so much, that was so important, laptop, blah, blah, blah. I owe you one. And she's like, oh, great. So that's the first kind of man. And then the other man that comes into it is called Ryan, I think. Ryan? Do I remember that rightly? Ryan? Yes. He comes back from living in America. He lived in LA and he's come back home, and she's always had this thing for Ryan. But he's back now. So, yay. But no, it's terrible. All the characters in here are absolutely horrible. Her siblings are the most vile people, I think, are in written history. Apart from at the end when suddenly they become, oh, utterly lovely. No. And Ryan himself is the most horrendous human being that's ever been written. He's so self-centered and just delusional and just no. And the worst thing about this is that it creates unrealistic expectations of what relationships are. And I mean, I'm in my late 20s now, but had I been still 13-year-old Lil and I read this for the first time, and I'd be like, oh, is that what relationships are meant to be like? No, they're not. And relationships are really, really bad in this, and it needs to be addressed a lot sooner than it is addressed, and it's just, no. So yeah, this book, I gave 1 star. I absolutely hated it. I thought it was vile. And I think this is probably the worst book that I've ever read of the year. So that's good, isn't it? But then I thought, right, it's December now, so I can start my plans for rereading, which I had. I did my whole video, didn't I, of shopping my shelves and all that stuff. I had a massive TBR pile, and then I got a cold. And it wasn't just a normal cold, it was one of those head colds where if you try and read anything you feel dizzy and you get an instant headache. So yeah, I didn't read anything for ages in December, and then just as it was like leaving me and I was starting to feel better, I thought, right, I'm going to reread something that I truly love. So I picked up for the 10 millionth time Sad Cyprus by Agatha Christie. I've done a full-length review of this, which I'll leave for you up here somewhere. This book is amazing. It is about a young woman called Eleanor Carlisle, who in the prologue of the book is in the courtroom, and she's being tried for the murder of Mary Gerard, who is her fiance's love interest, shall we say. She had the motive, the means, the opportunity. It looks like she's done it from the outside. It very much looks like, yes, it's got to be her. It doesn't look like anybody else could have done it. But the doctor involved in the village and the case sort of thing, he's like, he holds a little candle to Eleanor and he goes to Poirot and he's like, I want you to find evidence to show that she is innocent. And Poirot's like, no, I will find the truth. And the doctor goes, yeah, all right then. And Poirot goes and investigates and so on and so forth. This book is incredible. I love it so much. We start in the courtroom, we finish in the courtroom. It's one of those books that I can read in one sitting, or I can read over about 3 weeks. Whichever way I read it, I just adore it. It's so good. I think it's the character of Eleanor that I like the most. It's wonderful. I like the ending. I like how Poirot's in it, but he doesn't take over full control over it, and it's just, oh, it's brilliant. It's just so good. This is definitely one of her best murder mysteries that she's ever done. And I love reading it for some reason in December around Christmas time, which makes no sense at all because the murder takes place in July. So yeah. But anyway, this was 5 stars. As always, I don't think I'll ever not give that 5 stars. I mean, I've read it for like, how many times have I read that now? 5, 6? It's just silly. Anyway, that is it. That's what I read in November and December that haven't featured or is not about to feature in other reviews. So I hope you had a lovely November, December, Christmas, holidays, and you're enjoying your start to your January. I will be back very soon for some more videos, including my very favourite books of 2019. So that's it for this video. Take care, and I shall see you soon for the next one. Bye for now.